Now we're going to start with the first panel of this morning, and where some groups of producers and growers are going to analyze the challenges that the production and logistics of the grape has now in the Latin American perspective. We will call the Mr. Ricardo Koch, Gabriel Noboa, Andro Vidal, André Fattore, and Renato Alves from Brazil, and I will call our moderators Francisco Labarca and Jose Manuel Alcaino. I will read. Give me a second. Because of the time, we are going to do the biographies. Ricardo Koch is the general manager of Exportadora Rio Blanco. He was a commercial manager of the Exportadora Rio Blanco for 10 years. He moved to Safco in America, in the United States, and then he moved again to Latin America. And in 2014, he held the position of general manager. Gabriel Noboa is the commercial manager of Agrícola Don Ricardo. Gabriel, can you raise your hand? He is the commercial manager of Agrícola Don Ricardo. He is a food engineer with a master's degree in business administration with more than 14 years of experience leading commercial teams in the agro-export sector. Andro Vidal is a commercial manager at Exportadora Subsole. He is engineer from the University of Chile. He has worked for 20 years in this industry. André Fattore. He's from Brazil, but lives in Peru. I can define him like that. He's a commercial director of TerraSur Imports. He has a wide experience with clients relationship and marketing. And finally, inside the panel, we have Renato Alves. He's the commercial director of Coana and president of Noboa Consultoria. He is a geologist, expert in marketing and administration. He, like I said, is the commercial director of Coana and president of Noboa. Coana is the cooperative of table grape of Brazil. And then the moderators, we have Francisco Labarca. Can you raise your hand, Francisco? He is the founder of Camper Shipper. He has a wide experience in the exportation fruit of, and Manuel Jose Alcaino, the president of Decofrut. He's a agronomy engineer and he works in Decofrut too. Before you start, I will have tell you something. People who is on the corners, you can move to the different seats. We have available seats if you want. That way, can you raise your hand if you have a free seat, please? So people can see the spaces. Because of security, we need all the halls available. Please, if you can take seats, that'd be great. So we can have this great event for everyone. Manuel, Jose, and Francisco, you can take the floor now. Well, yeah, it's really exciting, the joint work that we have done with Chile and Peru. It's something that we have seen for a long time as something necessary to implement. So I'm very grateful and very happy that this is developing. I did ask to Gustavo to put me some graphics, but we have seen a lot of those. So in conclusion, it's very clear that the supply, it's over the demand. So I will start talking about that with our panelists. It is clear that the last season, the weight between supply and demand was difficult for the growers and producers beyond the volumes, because like they already said, the volumes were higher, for example, in the United States, at 10% higher, and it was distributed in a very equally manner. So the impact over the demand wasn't that big, and it was high anyways. But next year, this probably won't happen again. The quality that we need goes like the 2 or 3 seasons ago. With that in your mind, sirs, the question is it worth it to keep putting crops, to keep increasing the supply? Andre, I would like to start with you. Well, good morning, everyone. Thank you for the invitation, Gustavo, and everyone. Well, obviously, the answer after all the graphics, it's no, right? But the important thing to try to understand here, and those who are here in this room, how much influential we have what is happening around the world, what happened, what America shows, and what happened inside in India, just like all the other countries that were shown from different origins. We have to understand that the grape and the markets that are receiving from different other places. That's the first thing. I don't want to break the analogy of Ignacio about football. I'm not so. I don't agree with that. I don't think it's about losses. But for example, if I'm Icar, Piure, or Copiapó, or San Vicente, the play, it's. I mean, the affiliates play by us, and it's much more global than what I think it's that what Ignacio showed. I would like to transmit the message and pass the message to say, how am I efficient? And maybe I have to put 50 more hectares. Maybe I need more hectares of green or white. Yeah, but I'm not saying that with the question. I mean, if you need more hectares, that's perfect. But I'm trying to think, if you were a technical or commercial, and a client comes to you, I need these hectares. I do understand that, and the answer is no, right? But it's gonna happen anyways. So we need to understand that in China, maybe they are in other seminars thinking something else. There are much more places. I think saying no straightforward, it's complex. Gabriel, what do you think? What does Peru thinks? Well, first of all, sorry for my voice. I just getting out of a cold. I I agree with Andrew because it's not yes or no. Everyone says that I think, sorry, that it's a consequence that is going to happen, and we need to analyze the perspective of every origin and every producer and grower, because not because we have a good year we can say that the situation it's not, I mean, globally it's is optimal. So we need to check everything again and value financially what is your capacity as a grower to actually think and grow your expectations and everything. It's a bigger supplies for a change of varieties. Gabriel, can you hear me? Yeah, following what Karin asked, you hear from outside that some varieties in Chile have more flavor. Maybe Chile it's better for the red grape. To complement the question, to you there are Peruvians and have bigger productions. Is there something that you can plant in Chile? If you can have some hectares in Chile that maybe is not produced in Peru? Oh, that's a big tricky question, actually. It's a good question. It's a good question. Particularly, I will say no, because TerraSur, for example, we are in Piura and Ica, and with that we have more than enough. You can have Piura and Ica, and with latest varieties, we can supply everything. That it's what Peru is doing right now. Ricardo, the question going backwards: what would you plant in Peru? You as a Chilean citizen. They're going to kill me, but I think some grape, red grape, that nowadays it's something that it's growing in the competition. Peru concentrated a lot in the white grape, and they have not increased the red production. They're trying to achieve obviously size and color, and Chile has a better field in that. So I will try. It's difficult, but to control supply. Nowadays, Peru with 70 or 75, or maybe Chile doesn't go farther than 60, and to look a good balance in the mix. What happened in the last season, I think it was a good balance from the latest ships from Peru with white and the introduction of red, and later Chile got up in there with white. It was an ideal situation. Yeah, we'll talk in the past conversations that we have about the investment. We have there an area that it's additional. I don't want to say that word, but it's not so good. So in concrete, with apparently our production in the south hemisphere, it's growing and it will still grow, right? That's the conclusion. Is there any area, specific area, in which you think that it's important to concentrate that growth? Maybe different varieties and times of the supply that you think it's important? In Peru, sorry, it's important the green ones. We have seen that maybe red is the next category for us. But what Manuel said, we have to see which one is the magical number. Because in Peru, we don't have 10 hectares, we have 100. We plant 100. So we have to control. Yeah, to approve just one variety, you plant 50 hectares. So yeah, it's very high. Andrew, what do you think from the Chilean point of view? I think the balance is important in the productive varieties because we have to go there for the demand. In the retail, the demand is half green, half red, and a bit of some special varieties. Obviously, we have some areas where some varieties doesn't behave so good, and there is where we have to work with the variety mix. Renato, what about Brazil? Well, in Brazil we have a deficit of red ones, a bigger concentration in whites, but we still have. It's a bit different from our teammates here because the limitation it's out of our hands. We have convinced ourselves to stop doing some things. I think that our focus needs to be on making a fruit to do promotions, a food that it's good and sweet edible, and that it's being achieved with the change of varieties, right? Yes, exactly. In Brazil, we have an increasing growth of the seedless grape and the Brazilian varieties that are more sold in Brazil, for example, Victoria. But they do like that variety, and that answer was in me. It was very fast that we have a growth of the consumption much more higher for the guys, which is a snack, and I think that works in the market there. A question about the same thing we were talking about the supply. You talk about that maybe the growth of Peru can come from the replacement of the non-patented varieties. In Chile, we have a much higher value of those varieties. With the results of this season, which one is the message that we have to give to the growers, especially in Chile? When we see that the crimson, for example, had a better result than most of the varieties that are patented. So what happened, for example, with red glove? If we have to reduce the supply or reaccommodate it, we need a clear message for these varieties. Which one do you think, Ricardo, maybe that it's the message? Yeah, thank you. I think that the curve of change is correct. We are there. The message right now is that the change of these varieties of the productive unit, it's when the volume goes along with the equation. This season gives us a sort of like a breathe. And I wanted to do something there. This is unusual. This is an unusual season, and we have to remember the graphics that Ignacio showed. The season of 2013 and the ones of 2015 were more or less the same that the one that we have now. And those are the unusual but good. And the unusual but bad were like 3 seasons ago. We have huge rains. Then we have the COVID-19, obviously unusual. And then we have the collapse of the American market. So we have had 3 campaigns that were really bad. So you may think that this will normalize. Now, to answer your question, yes, if we capitalize that with a good variety and a correct variety with what technology is giving us, of course, we are going to have Chile probably in the next 5 years from 65 to 70 millions of boxes. Yeah, sorry, just to complement this message that Francisco asked. Nowadays, with the information, when the genetics clubs came out with these new varieties, it was crazy. We planned what we had. And nowadays we have the knowledge and the message of the rechange. And what is important is to have a good association and to know that the varieties that are available, if they are good in the geographic sectors or productive areas that they belong to. The new varieties that are patented, some of them are not well developed everywhere. So we need to talk about that too, because we have the information and we have to go directly with the genetics and the technical equipments team, so they can tell us the geographic. Yeah, that's a good topic. I made a summarize of the varieties that Chile exported in the last season. Does any of you know how many different varieties Chile exported from the minimum to maximum? Does anyone knows? 155 varieties. Different varieties. Chile exported this. I'm not talking about that have the same name. No, they're all different. Maybe 8 years ago were 8 or 10. So, the question that we have now is, do we need that many varieties? which one is the message that we want to give to the breeders in this sense? Personally, I think that nowadays the fact that of keep developing new varieties, I think that the focus that they need to have, the technical teams, is to give a good restoration of the productive areas of the varieties that works, because we have more than 20 new varieties that doesn't develop good in Copiapó or from the metropolitan region to the south. It's cl- cl- proven error, yeah, but it's at a high cost because the growers are the ones that needs to pay for that, for a plant or a royalty. That nowadays we have some developments or some varieties that are better than others, and that is very positive. But the focus today for me is for them to focus on the productive areas that are very different from Copiapó, for example, and the technical part. Yeah, from Peru, any message to the breeders? Be careful with what you say. Everything is being recorded. More than a message to them, I think that it's a call for attention to the growers, because even though you have hundreds and of solutions, and every year you have new solutions, we have the responsibility of every grower to be correctly validating those. It's like a race, to know who captivated more areas of the new varieties. And in Peru, we had some horrible story of companies that broke because of this. So I think that nowadays we are in a stage, much more mature stage, sorry, in which every grower and exporter needs to do the job of checking that from the technical and economical part, put themselves in new scenarios alongside with the breeders. Yeah, the breeders are gonna give you like a script. Every zone is gonna give you a different story. So what we don't need to do is to pressure ourselves to take drastical decisions. So now we have the time. We don't have to run. We have the time to try varieties, but we are in a process of consolidation where we're trying to amplify our harvest time, but not necessarily with different varieties. Like I said, we need to consolidate ourselves. Every variety is a different story. Yeah, sorry. But same thing that they say, every consumer knows two, maximum three varieties. White, red, maybe a savory one, and that's it. In Europe, it's clear and darker, and that's it. So that's the thing. We have a lot more. We don't have any red. I think we have one that has a good possibility, but the other ones, we don't work with them. They don't function there. So there's no need to have these many varieties. The consumer needs a good grape. Doesn't matter if it's white or red. Yeah, that it is not a question, but I do have a doubt. We're gonna go to another one. But I don't know what commercial effect from 155 varieties exported in the market. How do they manage that? I mean, that concerns me a bit. It's I think that if we have too many names and too many varieties, how do you recognize them? Just to complement that, yeah, we do have some positive effects of those ton of varieties, but they're very little. Francisco, sorry, I wanted to say something about this. There is a wide discussion, but I think that in Chile we have topics that are a bit important, and we have to set this with the breeders. the breeders here in Chile has been deficient, and it's a topic that has affected us widely, 100%. It's important for us to see this, because later on, the thing about the replacement, we have a lot of failures. So what is the breeder giving you to replace that? Because like you said before about the money, we are putting so much money in this, and it's not working. So what are we controlling? What the breeders are controlling, sorry. Are they controlling just the brand or doing business? So we need to help to control the production, the technical part. But when it is focused a lot on the control, what kind of bag do we use? Nowadays, the brands are not so clear on the effect. Yeah, we have to skip to another topic, sorry. Ignacio, in their presentation, he showed a big frame of the production comparing to another fruits. We cannot do much to control the supply, but we do need to do something to increase the consumption. So besides the promotion that Ignacio said, is there any other idea maybe to, I don't know, unite the quality standards of the grape, in where we can see that different companies have different standards? Do you mean the standards between Chile and Peru, or companies in in their own countries? No, what I mean is that let's say that Peru and Chile is just one, but at least in here, the multitasking of standards, you see it from outside and it's incredible. Do you think there's any possibility or idea to give the standards to the consumer for they to understand it? Can we do something? Sorry, I want to add something there. Not only the standards as tolerance or those type of things, but common sense, For example, we have a lot of names, Jumbo, 900, 600, maybe a name that it's common so the markets can understand, and it's much easier for everyone if we have like a same name for everything. Yeah, this is key. The grape committee worked last year on a proposal that sadly not many of us sign it, but we do have to keep working on this. At least Chile needs to have a common name, like you said. Talk about the same quality, same size, for variety, obviously. And if we are capable to do something with Peru, that's even better. But it's in our own will, I think. I'm not talking about the growers, I'm talking about the exporters. Maybe Ignacio can clarify that, but the addition of the change wasn't that big. Some of us did it. Well, here's not like South Africa, We don't have boards, but what we can do is to create a proposal that anyone who wants to sign it can sign it, but we need to have like a common proposal, a common name among the different countries. Yeah, who needs to be a bit worried? Like you said about the names, that is change all the time because a bit different for everyone. So maybe put a name on the fruit that it's bad. We need to be careful with that because you can sell, and I can tell you that this is extra jumbo, and I use another name, so it is maybe a worry for the consumer. The quality doesn't have anything to do with the names. I don't know if you could understand what I said. Yeah. I wanted to ask to André, because the past conversations that we had, which are for you the most important concepts to classify the grape, if you could classify it or standardize it. I'm talking more of a, it's not the standardization of millimeters, but the concepts, the key concepts for the market. I think this is a conversation that not only us as growers need to have alongside with the markets, you know. What do they think it's important for their own consumers? What we want is for them to sell a lot so we can sell a lot too. And what I've heard the most in the last year is texture and size, and then taste. Obviously, taste is really important. Yeah, I'm talking about bricks. But there are some bricks fruit that are tasteless, you know? Yeah, I mean, the other things are subjective, so in bricks we can measure it. Yeah. I think that in the last years, supermarkets have tasted the texture and the size. That it's the thing that calls for a consumer when they see the fruit. So we need to standardize that criteria. So the message you keep for the leaders of the different committees of Chile, Peru, and Brazil, I think that it will be a big step. It's not easy because not everyone will agree with this, but we can do it. Another topic that I think that points to the same thing is that if the production is growing, if the supply is growing, we need to increase the consumption, maybe rearrange the consumption. And I think that a topic that it's important is how to improve this thing that we're talking about. And on that same thing, we have to improve. Ignacio said it in his presentation. The thing with the estimations. This year we were a bit wrong about the dates, but they had to have three important elements: the total volume per week and with estimation of the objective market. How do you think that it's something easy and possible? Which measures we have to take to rearrange that supply? Obviously, retail needs to have that clarity to program their production. Yeah, I think it's important question and interesting because we as Peru has improved a lot of these technical things. We have some problems on the north because of the climate, like you said. It was a bit difficult to know the final number, but the last 2 or 3 years, we have here maybe 5% in the number. But the problem that we have is per week because it's complicated. And that problem goes in every different place, you know. I fight every week with the growers for they to give me the exact number, and it's difficult. So if we do it as an industry, it's a challenge. We need to improve it. It is possible to improve it. It is not easy, obviously, because we are dealing with climate that change every single week. But I think that the final number, the final number, it's obviously important. But what happened to us in the last 2 or 3 seasons, not the one that we already have, but we had a big season, a big week. I wanted to show that in the graphics that I told you at the beginning. But we had the sum of the supply of Peru and Chile in the last years, and we have consecutive weeks of above 5 million boxes. Obviously, it's almost impossible to have an exact number. So, as much as we want to put our best efforts in this, it's not going to work. To pass the 5 million, it's crazy. So, if we are going to have those 5 millions or those weeks, because it doesn't depend that much of us to regulate it, we need to concentrate the production on those periods, and we need to know that in advance. So, I will say this again. The fact of the estimations, it's pointed much more to be assertive with the weeks than the total. Yeah, but ask ourselves because it's a panel. Well, I am 100% agree with you. But you can ask us. Yeah, the fruit is there. You just have to take it out. Yeah, just to make a point in here. Ignacio named this. But we as an industry have made a huge work on this. We have a great opportunity as Chile. Ignacio recapitulated the data of 85%. I do understand that at the beginning we didn't even believe in that number, but more than believe in it, we have to work on the number. If 85% of the industry works on this, it's obviously on the weeks, you know? The technicals always show us that they accomplish 93% of total, but that doesn't work for us because if that doubles in a week, it's not possible to double up all the other characteristics that we need. Yeah, we need to answer the supermarkets. How much time do you need to do this big production? If it's 3 weeks, 4 or 2, yeah, that's an excellent point actually. Most of the times, this it doesn't matter if in 20 weeks we will have volumes. That is a loss. But the information that we need is when do they need that production. Yeah, there is an idea, sorry, that I think it's interesting. I don't know if you think it's possible, but to put together the analysis of all the things that are going around on the United States, of the inventories, and maybe it's not that hard to get. We think we have 10 freezers, maybe with a terminal. Can give us a good signal? This has been talked in other years. Do you think it's able to achieve this? I think the numbers are interesting. Is it possible to activate it? Yeah, I think it's possible and it's important. We have all the technologies to do this. We have had from Holt that we know what we have online, and the other freezers are through our exporters. We have that information, so we could take all of that information and concentrate it. It's vital. There are some times where in our own radio, the last season they were full with this, and I think that's fatal. Yeah, it's what the commission does in there, in California. Yeah, the answer is who does that, right? It's a good idea, but we need to develop that. Like, given that we have last minutes, the logistic question, it's important here. So I want to ask our Peruvian friends, do you see any logistic challenge? Do you have any worries seeing the volumes that we have? Any logistic thing that you may be worried about? Yeah, definitely. After the COVID-19, we passed through high prices, to say it in a normal way. Nowadays, they have normalized. But it looks like we forgot about the service. This is not a critique, a hard critique. It's something to improve, you know? We feel that even though that prices are regularized, the service is not important or crucial right now. Those are big increases because of different reasons, and nowadays we're talking a lot about the United States, Europe, Latin America, but Asia, it's a big world, and China is not Asia. So we need to keep developing on Asia, all that is southeast of Asia. And how do we develop this? It's with 55 or 45 days of shipping. So we need to act with them. We have a big demand of some markets that we cannot help. Nowadays we're sending by plane to Singapore or Malaysia, but we didn't feel that. We need that trust to open more markets. So what you're seeing right now, the bigger challenge is to access the Asian market. You don't have comments maybe on USA that it's right now the most important market. It worked? Yeah, it did work a lot. It worked on the East Coast, beyond the cold treatment, the freeze treatment. All of our logistics right now works really good. And I think we all live with that fear maybe inside because we do need to open to other markets. Now, Chile. It's important to see the point of view of Chile. Andre, maybe? What is your concerning with the volumes? Yeah, I think the challenge is big. The transfer of boxes that we make to from Chile to USA in March, it's big, but it's not enough. We have a lot of services, but they're not enough, like I said. We, as a Chilean industry with more or less boxes in March, we freeze these boxes. It's 1 million boxes per day, and we have to fix that. We have problems this year from the 3rd to the 15th week. We have some differences. We have not worked joined together, but we have not worked. We have improved some things, but we have not worked together. And I think the transfer to the United States is vital. Yeah. Nowadays we have a rumor, if we can call it some way, from the port of Wilmington that it's important for Chile to keep operating like we have done in the past years because of the fumigation capacity, because we have the alternative to go to the port and use the Wilmington port and the Holt one, which are in Gloucester. But if in some other way we cannot operate in Wilmington, it's gonna give us a big trouble. Now, this challenge of May that Arthur said of big volumes, because Chile has concentrated a lot at the end on the volumes per box. But I mentioned that we don't have another alternatives of services. We have 4 services of containers that works well, really well this year actually. And we have 1 service of chartered ships that are specialized. And we don't know if we're gonna have 2 services next year or just 1, but we all say that it's important for this specialization to continue. How do you see, how can we secure a good transition? Where can we point? Do we have to improve the containers? What do you think about this? How do you feel about it? I think, yeah, we need to improve both of them. It's to have just 1 operated in bucket charter. It's not good for us. It's limited. It is important maybe to have sea trade back. And last year, because of everything we talk about the season, the service of containers worked really well. And I think that can grow. But the heart of every one of us has always been on the sea transport, to have both alternatives along with side with the vessels. It's a good space. Yeah, I think that the combination between this, it's not a recipe. And it's important to understand that what happened this year affected the curve of price at the end. Here in Chile, we have a lot of fruit post-marketing. It was left. And that affected the prices. Do we want to see it or not? That had a real great effect because of the fruit that was left behind in here. Yeah, we have a big analysis on that. Gustavo is making me some signs because I think we don't have much more time. We have some interesting ideas here though. and we really hope that this has a good impact on the consumers. Thank you so much, everyone, and please an applause to our panelists.